Welcome to A Quest for Metal. Today we are ranking Anathema, or Anathema, however you want to pronounce them, one of the Peacefield trio, and personally, my favourite out of the three. I've been binging the hell out of this band, and I love pretty much almost every single album they've got. This band is, if you didn't know, they started off as Death Doom, then they kind of went into like this more progressive nature, and all their albums are fantastic. Some may like the Death Doom more, some may like the progressive more, but we're here to find out what I like the best. So let me know if you've heard all their albums, what's your favourite Anathema album down below, and let's just get stuck straight in, shall we? So coming in at last place is The Optimist. This is the latest album by the band, and although I really enjoy this album, I think it's a great kind of pop-prog album, I do think it lacks heart compared to some of the other albums that came before it. I feel like the songs on it just don't affect me as much emotionally as some of the other albums, because Anathema is a very emotionally charged band, and this one, although it's great and I do enjoy the songs, they just don't move me. They just don't move me as much as some of the others, so it's a fine album. I wish it was a bit better. That's all I can say. It's not bad though, so still enjoyed it, but it's coming last on the list. Next up is probably going to trigger everyone, A Fine Day to Exit. That's right, A Fine Day to Exit is second to last. Lots of people say this is like 100 out of 100, one of the best they've ever done, and I disagree. Opinions are opinions, I disagree because this kind of did a shift towards a more just hard rock direction, and I like the more prog stuff, I like the doomy stuff, the more emotional, and this just feels like it's just hard rock all the way through. I was struggling which one to put last, this one or The Optimist, but I do enjoy the songs on here. If I'm talking about it objectively, which nothing is really objective on this list, but the songwriting's better on here, the songs captivate me more, it's just the sound of it isn't for me. It's just not for me, this hard rock kind of sound. I do much prefer a lot of the other albums. It was a bit jarring going from some of the albums to this one. Maybe it'll grow in me. It might be a grow of an album. I'll keep listening to it, keep getting into it. Maybe in a year it'll be my favourite album by the band. But at the moment, it just hasn't grabbed my attention as much as some of the others. But the songwriting's great. The songs themselves are great. It's just not a style I'll listen to. So that's why it's here. Next up is Eternity. Eternity won an earlier album, but this is a transitional album. I think from here on out, all these albums are really good. And this is a really good album, but because it's kind of like a transitional album between the more Death Doom stuff, depressing stuff, to the more progressive nature stuff, it's a bit, I don't know, jarring, a bit hit and miss. But even then, the songs on here, still, a lot of them slap. And I love the album cover as well, the angel on it. So it's still a fantastic album that everyone needs to check out. It's just, compared to a lot of the others that come after it and before it, it's kind of in this middle ground, where if I was going to do a tier list, it'd probably be middle, it'd probably be C tier, and that's not saying it's bad and deserves a 50 out of 100, no, I'd give it like a 70, but it's still, with regards to their own catalogue, it's middle of the pack, so it's coming here. So next up is Distant Satellites, which is, in my opinion, better than The Optimist. It's like a better version of The Optimist. It's still that kind of pop prog nature of the band, but the songs on here are so goddamn good. Lost songs, like the back and forth female and male vocals, genius. It's a very moving album. I think the singing's better. I think the compositions of the songs are better. The writing's better. It's just a better album overall. Yeah, I love this album. I think this is a great album from start to finish, and I'll play it right now and have a blast with it. It's coming a bit low on the list because I haven't listened to it as much as some of the others, but gosh dang, it's a good album. Next up is Serenades, the debut, which is pure Death Doom, filthy goodness. This is the most different album. All the albums are pretty different, but this is like the most death doom metal album of the entire pack. So if you like stuff like the very first Paradise Lost album, if you like stuff like, I don't know, Dance of December Souls by Catatonia, you'll love this album. This is the album for you. Heavy, gnarly, grim, and I love it. The riffs are there, the growls are there. It's great. It's gravy. It's one of the best albums, and it's only here. What's going on? So next to that, Silent Enigma. That's right, the Death Doom classic. Now this is an amazing album. If someone says, give me essential Death Doom albums, I'd hand them a copy of The Silent Enigma. It's just better in every way. It's more meaningful, it's more moody, the riffs are there. It's a perfect Death Doom album. But for me, as much as I love Death Doom, it's one of my favourite genres, I actually like the more progressive stuff by the band. I think some of that's even more moving. So although I love this album, and I think it's better than a lot of the other albums in like Paradise Lost and My Dying Bride's catalogue, I think that Anathema has even better albums. So yeah, I would say if you do like Death Doom though, give it a listen. It's essential. But yeah, let's move on. A Natural Disaster is next. This is a slow, atmospheric, droney, just beautiful album, which is very depressing as well. The female vocals on here just, so good. I mean, the title track on it is so moving. It's much more of a journey of an album than a lot of the others that I've mentioned. It's perfect from start to finish. What can I say? It's like the most beautiful album you could ever hear, and I want to listen to it right now that I'm talking about it. So this was stupidly hard to rank these next couple, but let's do it. We're here because we're here. That's right. This is in that perfect kind of vacuum of the band where the pop, prog, and just melodic and doomy natures all coalesce, and it's so good. It's so good. It's probably considered the best album. For me, it's not my favourite, but I can see why people say it's the best. Simple Mistakes, like a masterpiece of a song. Thin Air as well. So good. Starting off the album, there's no bad things to say about this album. It's perfect, but I just prefer a couple more. Judgement. Let's talk about Judgement. No judgment here. This album's flawless from start to finish. There's no bad songs on it at all. Every melody is beautiful and every song is the best that they've done. And it's only number 3? What? Yeah. The Judgement, they have so many good songs on Judgement. Another one that people say is like the best of all time. I do prefer 2 more though, but I can't argue with them. I can't argue with them. If you put Judgement number 1, I'd start like sweating profusely and be like, maybe I should have it number 1. But I'll stick with what I've got at the moment. Judgement, flawless album from start to finish. I love every single second of it. Let's move on. It's perfect. So number 2 is, this is hard. This is really hard. But we're going to go with Alternative 4, which is the darkest, most depressing, and just moodiest album. Way more than A Natural Disaster. This is the most depressing album Anathema's ever done. Probably one of the most depressing albums ever made. Really, neck and neck with a lot of Catatonia and My Dying Bride stuff. This is, the mood is palpable on this one. Fragile is like one of the best Anathema songs ever made. It just is. It manages to have that mood with the catchiness of the songs as well. So it's not just all just mood and depressing and like a dreary journey, kind of like Natural Disaster. This has those riffs and it has those catchiness in it as well, which just makes it a cut above the rest. So I really want to put this number 1, but my number 1 is Weather Systems. That's right, Weather Systems. This is the first Anathema album I ever heard. It blew me away. The singing, the duet, like the female singing, the male singing. It's so good. The lightning song. Oh my god. Untouchables Part 1 and 2. Every single song on this album is beautiful. It's just beauty personified into an album. Weather Systems is that album. What can I say? It's my favourite. It always has been, and it maybe always will be. I mean, Alternative 4 almost took it off for being more depressing, but this is just more magical. There's not a lot of albums which are kind of happy and uplifting and magical in the world of metal, but this one does it perfectly, and it kind of reminds me of Devin Townsend's albums, a lot of their albums, his album, sorry. Yeah, no, it's flawless. I love it. Weather Systems is my favourite Anathema's album of all time. So that was my list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. What's your favourite Anathema album and song? Let me know down below, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.